Are live. Welcome back, everybody, to Behind the ToolBelt, episode 244. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday edition. Today, we have another awesome guest. Stay tuned. We will be back after our short intro from our sponsors.
TC Backer. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. Roofing, siding, windows, gutter, solar. TC Backer.
Is your lead flow down? Whether you're a company owner, office staff, salesperson, or installer, you're a roofing rock star. We help you get more leads with custom SEO, Google Ads, and a pro website.
TC Backer.
And we're live. We had to plug Limitless roofing event in there real quick. We will be out there in Kansas City October 1st. So I wanted to put that in there real quick. Vic, thank you so much for throwing that in there at the last minute. But welcome back, everybody, to Wednesday, episode 244 Behind the ToolBelt. Hopefully you're joining us on your lunch break or wherever you're at in the world today. Tuning in, we have another awesome guest, my friend Nick Peret. And before we get started here, I just want to plug Nick here a little bit. He where I first met Nick, actually I would watch the Start Build Grow show. Who, whether you know it or not, you and Randy both, it's giving me goosebumps right now. And I tell Randy this every time I see him. You guys inspired us to be who we are today and motivate us and push us, and we've gotten ideas from you guys. So thank you for what you've done for us over here. You've mentored us from a distance, whether you know it or not. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about inspiration and inspiring others, and whether we know it or not. Now, I guess that's the ripple effect or the catch-22 of legacy. Like, so this is a portion or kind of like your legacy here, Pete or Nick, whether you know it or not, because, we don't know who we inspire or impact half the time by continuously suiting up, showing up, doing the next right thing, and throwing out really good content that inspires people. And we just don't know who that might be. So thank you for that, Nick.
You're giving me the chills, man.
Yeah.
Can I hit him real quick with the We Are Live too, just to bring it back? Because I haven't been live in a while.
Bring
you
it
know
back.
what I mean? We are live. Let's go. Let's go. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Every time I say that, we are live, I think of you. Every time, I mean, that shit is branded. You branded, we are live. I mean, I think everybody says it now, and
Oh, I love
you
it,
don't even
man.
know where it came from or originated. You know what I mean? Again, going back to legacy there, but
That means a
Nick,
lot to me, man.
yeah, no, and now you're the co-host for that. You're now the host of the Construction Tech Talk,
Mm-hmm.
which is another awesome platform that you got out there, and you're inspiring, contractors in the contractor space on technology and adapting technology, and that it's not as difficult as what some of us might think it is, and how
Mm-hmm.
more effective our businesses and streamline our businesses can be while using technology. So I guess let's talk a little bit about I think most interviews like, let's go back to how this industry found you. I mean, you can go back as
Mm-hmm.
far as you want, or start like right here, like what BetterBoss is, and
Yeah.
or wherever you want to take it. Just give us a little bit in a nutshell about who you are, where you're at, and how you got here, I guess.
So I'll go back a little bit. I think the reason why I ended up in the trades, first off, roofing always does find you, right? Roofing always somehow creates an opportunity for people who need an opportunity at certain times in life. But I grew up in a family of contractors. My dad was an electrician. My cousin was a plumber. You basically name it. I think we had every single trade except roofing, which is kind of ironic. So I just related to those type of people, right? And so I ended up working for Milwaukee Tools straight out of college. Let's go. Best tools in the business, baby. You got to get that fuel, baby. Lithium ion, brushless motors. Let's go. So best in the biz. But after that, I ended up going into software where I was working with contractors. And that was about 10 years ago. And I noticed even with this simple software that they struggled to get it set up. So once, I got involved with the Roofing Academy and my lead company and everything like that, you start noticing the operational side is actually where they're struggling with most. And so I kind of made that my mission to just basically lock in for almost a year where I'm downloading every single software, CRMs, AI, job costing tool, estimating tools, you kind of name it, and just start to learn all of them, right? Mastered all of them. And I invested all that time after I sold my ownership in other companies into that so that I could better serve contractors. So that's what we're doing now, basically, is just helping contractors refine their processes and then adopt the technology to support those scalable processes, because it's fun in the beginning when you're running and gunning, Wild West style, right? You closing deals, you're producing the jobs, you're shaking hands with every single client that you meet. But as you scale, and this, there's growing pains.
Yes.
And that's usually when it's time to look at something like the solutions that we provide.
Yeah, right on. No, and that's great. And I want to dive more into what it is that you do. But just for someone that might be listening that's in the roofing industry, and they're about a year to 1 or 3 to 1 years in the business, what top 3 tools would you recommend that they start out with? And I'm going to keep it to 3 because like you said, I did the same thing too. As soon as technology started to get out there, I mean, we had them all. We tried everything. We were spending money on just about everything that was out there. Most of it was a distraction. I couldn't figure out how to use it. It was so complex, so complicated, to integrate with anything. And we just kind of just stayed on the subscription, wasted money. So if you had to choose, if you had to start all over again and you were starting a roofing business, what would be the first 3 technology tools pieces that you would right away?
Well, first off, I would start out with a plan, because I think, especially people who are pioneers or innovative, or they're thinking about the future and how they're going to scale the company, right? They're like, I need this software. I need this software. And there's so many good tools that you see on Facebook and stuff like that you can utilize, but you want to go kind of piece by piece and have a plan and have somebody who's in charge or responsible of making sure that implementation goes through, right? And then training your team as well. I think that's one of the biggest issues. But you definitely want a CRM tool, right? Just to manage your customers and projects. And if you could have some kind of estimating tool that's integrated or built into it as well, where you're building out your CAS catalog and templates, stuff that's just going to help you be more efficient in the front end. And then also anything with job costing, because I would say the job costing and financials is probably one of the biggest issues that I see, where people are kind of unsure where they're making their money, cash flow issues, understanding where, what projects are profitable, what's not, stuff like that. So if you could get a good understanding of your finances early on, that's going to help things for sure, because that's a hard topic to tackle.
Yeah. It is for sure. And if somebody asked me that question, I was sitting here thinking, what would I use? I think the first thing, like you said, master your finances, right? So you want to
Mhm.
accounting software. And then of course, obviously a CRM, a customer management relationship tool, right? And one that builds out, because there's a lot out there right now. All of them are
Mhm.
probably just as equally good, I think, at this point in time, right? Some might be better at little reporting things or whatever like that. But I think that has an estimating software in it,
Mhm.
macros with all your prices that are in there. And then I would say, if I would throw a third one in there, and I would say this because of training purposes for salespeople coming on, because they may not have came from the roofing industry, I would say an aerial measurement tool
Mhm.
would be
For
my top
sure.
2 picks. In accounting, QuickBooks, like QuickBooks, Leap, Job Nimbus, Roofer, something, and Roofer, I think, does all of it. I think they do the roofing measurement tools. I think it's a CRM, and it probably does some other things by now too, because those guys are really advanced and growing and shaking.
Mhm.
They're growing.
The best CRM that is the one that you use, right? For sure.
Yes.
Like you're saying, a lot of them are very, very similar.
Hmm.
But for me, like you're saying, they're either going to have almost everything built into it, or
Hmm.
they're going to have some kind of integration abilities where you're going to take your favorite tools, mix and match, and integrate everything ideally into one location, right? So if you're working on different tools, the ideal situation is where they're all integrated and pushes that data, information, updates into the CRM where everybody else is still working out of one spot. The less places people have to work out of, the better.
That's such a great point right there, because I know years ago for us, we used so many different softwares that didn't communicate with each other. So we had 3 different people putting the same information in 3 different places that did not communicate. So there was so much redundancy in what it was that we were doing. But having a robust CRM where you have one person put the information in there, and then there's different layers of visibility for those that might see it, from administrative to accounts payable to receivables to the guys out in the field that doesn't necessarily need to see the financial aspects of it, but they just need to see
Mhm.
what's going on with the job, whether it's quantities, the size, the colors, things of that nature. And that's where a CRM for us has really helped us scale our business to the point where it was less communication, less data entry with more communication. Let me
Mhm.
re-say that. But so what does BetterBoss do to complement, all of the things that we're talking about right now? If I'm getting started out and I'm listening to this podcast right now, and I'm wondering what BetterBoss does and what it could do for our business, like explain to us
Mhm.
at 1,000-foot view, like what it does, and then bring us down to the ground with it.
So I call it the Better Boss Blueprint, and it's based off of 5 components: sales and estimating, project management, job costing and financials, client communication, and then vendor and subcontractor management. So basically, every single prospect, we sit down for probably an hour, hour and a half, and we discuss each one of those buckets. And we figure out where's the bottlenecks, where there's opportunity to remove manual entry, where there's opportunities to improve automation or whatever it might be, right? And then based off of that, we create a customized plan, right? To basically take your different softwares, and if we need to replace some, I do all of that for you guys as well. Any kind of the software, vendor management, all that kind of stuff, that's all on me. And the biggest thing I'll say is I meet with the owners up front and then their key team members. After that, we have a portal where I build out your project plan with all your tasks, initiatives, subtasks. We can chat inside the portal, everything like that. I try to make you guys as hands off as possible, right? So the last thing you want to do is pay somebody, right, to come in, consult you on the issues you have, but then you get homework. So what I do is I actually handle all the implementation of it, train your team members, right, and make sure everybody's feeling super confident about it, and
Mhm.
handle all that type of change management, right? So I'm gonna help you leverage those softwares and improve in all 5 of those components of your business. So basically, it's from lead coming in all the way to the billing. And I'll say one thing too: the reporting is very underrated as well, right?
Hmm.
Reporting is so essential. And ideally, each one of your team members, including the owner and leadership, have the exact reports and views built out automatically, right? That's going to give them the information that they need to do their job well, right? And
Mhm.
make informed decisions. Reporting, I mean, my buddy was spending 52 days a year, legit, 52 days a year, every single Monday, taking all these different systems, right, that all his team members were using, right? and putting all that information into a spreadsheet and building out these reports every single Monday. Now he doesn't have to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Just something like that. What is that worth? Right?
Yeah.
Or AR is always a big issue too that we see, right?
Yeah.
Is all of a sudden they don't realize it and their AR is super high. Right? So stuff like that we help you stay on top of.
Okay. So is it replacing the CRM or is it just like a bolt on to somebody's CRM? It complements it.
So I don't actually have a software, right? So BetterBoss doesn't have a software. We are completely service based. The only thing that we have is we have a portal that manages everything that we're working on for you.
Okay.
Right. So basically think of it as you have someone who's really high level at operations and tech, right? A fractional chief technology officer that's basically going to handle all that stuff for you. Right. So if we need to replace the software, if we need to update something, if we need to integrate something, whatever it might be, we're going to customize it based off you. So every single plan we create is customized based off of where the contractor is and where they're going and what problems they have that's stopping them from getting there.
Okay. So it's kind of like consulting. You come in, you kind of analyze everything, the tools that they're utilizing now. You either try to replace some or you improve the tools and educate the team on how to use the tools. Okay. Yep. Okay. So it's not an app. It's not a web-based thing. And
and I'm not biased to any of the tools, right? Okay. Obviously, I'm going to say my opinion if they have a tool that I don't like, but then the day it's up to them, right? I'm going to try to maximize whatever they want me to do for them as much as I can. Okay. Right. But you know, like you're saying, there's just so many little inefficiencies because they're not maximizing the tools, right? The tool that they have already might have, 15, 20 different components that they could utilize that would save them X amount of hours, speed up their estimating, automating the job costs, right? But they're not utilizing it because in all honesty, it's complicated. It really is, right? So it's one of those things where we have to refine their processes and then from there implement the tech to support it.
Okay. So I'm assuming you have relationships with most of the roofing spaces, CRMs and aerial measurement tools. So you have a direct line of contact to these people. If there is a hiccup in the get up, you know who to contact to get it resolved quickly. So you're kind of like an IT company as well, right? Okay.
Yeah.
If I'm
there's
wrong.
A lot to it. There's 100%. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of some of the issues that we have here on a daily basis. I mean, it is technology. Things freeze up, things update all the time overnight, and then you got to reset it and do things like that. And fortunately for us, we do have in-house IT guys. And one of the original, I guess, for lack of better terms, founders of the CRM that we use worked for us in-house for several years before.
That's awesome.
Yeah, before he went on. So we've been very fortunate. But I remember back in the day, what Google Calendar was like our CRM. Like we used it for everything. We used it. We shared it with distribution. We shared it with our subcontractors. We shared it with our teammates that were out in the field. Like that's where everybody knew where to go. And then we would attach an attachment to it, like if it was a work order or things like that. But again, so we were doing QuickBooks that didn't communicate with Google Calendar. We had Excel spreadsheets that didn't communicate with Google Calendar. I mean, there was all these things that we had going on. We had all these people putting the same data in one place, but none of it communicated. It was such a freaking nightmare. And we did it so much that it was pretty much seamless, but we didn't know how much extra work that we actually created for ourselves until the advancements in technology in the roofing space started to evolve. And I feel like we're at the cusp of that right now, where the roofing industry is ever evolving, and it's kind of behind some other industries like the HVAC and the HVAC and the plumbing space and stuff like that. Like these guys have had CRMs for decades, and here we may have gotten our first CRM maybe 10 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, right? So where did you gain all of this experience and knowledge to feel confident enough? Like it doesn't matter what CRM you have. It doesn't matter what accounting software that you have or aerial measurement tool. Where did you get all of this experience to feel that confident to go out on your own to create a business like BetterBoss?
Well, first off, I think it came from the mission, right? Because I knew it was a significant problem. And I was very intrigued to solve that problem. And then from there, I'll tell you what, it was a lot of all-nighters behind the computer, bro. I'll tell you that much, right? Just taking on a handful of clients in the beginning, right? At a lower price point. They knew that I was just getting going, right? And just grinding it out, hands-on experience. And what I really like too is I've been working with a variety of trades, right? So I'm starting to, pluck different things that different industries are doing and trying to combine it into almost like a master plan for contractors, right?
Love
Taking ideas and concepts that are in different trades
Mhm.
and then putting that into one. That's been, one of my favorite things. But honestly, at this point, I feel like I can do almost anything behind the computer, right? You put enough hours and you do repetition, you're going to get good at stuff,
Yeah.
right? But you just can't quit. You got to grind it out when you suck,
Yeah.
right? And you got to learn the skills that are necessary, and then you can provide value to other people. And I think I kind of got lucky when I sold my ownership in the last two companies. It was just when AI was taken off, right? And so right then, I downloaded like 150 different AI softwares. I tried them all, right? Generative AI. I've tried photos, video. You name it. I probably tried it. So I mean, honestly, that helped me a lot with learning how to code, right? I mean, what you can do with these like ChatGPT or Claude AI is absolutely insane. Like you can learn anything like that. I had to write it was almost 1,000 pages of like a Google Doc of JavaScript, right?
Mhm.
And at this point, I never coded in my life. Just being transparent, right? But with tools like ChatGPT, right, it will write a huge chunk of code for you, right? You can place it in. If you do get any kind of error, you put the error back in ChatGPT, it cleans it up for you. Boom, boom. All of a
Wow.
sudden, now I'm a coder, right? And that helped me pick up stuff like that very quickly.
Okay. So you're a guy that, regardless if it's a CRM that you've never had experience with before, you'll figure it out. You'll grind away at it long enough. So that's kind of where, you've gained the confidence in yourself is accomplishing the almost impossible so many times over and over and over. You feel confident enough that it doesn't matter what technology you guys are using. If I don't know, I either know somebody that can help me with it or I'll figure it out myself. So no, that's cool. That's great stuff. And I heard you say something earlier, and this is kind of more not necessarily personal, but you said you really enjoyed doing something. But like, what do you enjoy most about what it is that you do?
So I would say, obviously the results have been rewarding for sure, right? To see this, I think removing stress from leadership has been one of the coolest things because there's all these little fires that they don't have to put out anymore for sure. But it's funny because, when you're working on some of these, some of them get more complicated than others, right? But, some of the real complicated ones, it's like, operationally, when you're looking at different areas, if I mess up something the way I set up in sales and estimating, right, that could impact the job costing in the back end, right? There's all these kind of different pieces where if you mess it up at one point, it just doesn't flow correctly. So for me, it's like this puzzle that I'm like trying to figure out every time. And, you hate it for sometimes, but once you figure it out, you're like, and you just see everything just streamline, it's pretty rewarding. It's pretty rewarding. There's definitely some satisfactory there.
No, that's great. That's great. And if there was one thing that if you knew you weren't going to fail, okay,
Mhm.
what would that be? What would you do for your company if you knew you could go all in on it?
What would I do if I couldn't fail?
Yeah, failure wasn't an option. Like, what is the one
I
thing you
mean,
would do with your business if you knew you could not
so
fail?
I'll kind of tell you like the vision, right? And so I think that'll go hand in hand with this. For me, I want to be the best in the biz at all this stuff for contractors, right? I want to be known as the guy that's like, hey, our operations, our processes need to get streamlined. We need help with our technology. You need to call BetterBoss, right? But at some point, I would also like to have another offering, 100%, some kind of software. And I'm not sure what type yet, but I think this journey that I'm on right now is going to show me the road to what I need to create. So I would definitely go all in on developing a software at some point, no doubt. And with some kind of AI capabilities, 100%.
Okay.
100%.
Okay. So that's your aspiration and goals, right? I don't know
Yeah.
if you thought about what your goal may be yet, because sometimes we're so stuck in the weeds, at least for myself as an entrepreneur, we're so heads down in the day to day that we don't even have time to sit here and think about like, so what is my goal here other than helping this contractor get through whatever pain points that they may have. But because we get so fixated on everybody else and making sure that we're catering to everybody else, but we're really not even
Mhm.
looking at like, what's our goal here? What's our
Mhm.
end game here? So that's kind of why I asked you that question, because these are thoughts that go through my head as I'm sitting behind my desk every day. It's kind of like, man, I am tired. I feel like I got my ass kicked here.
Oh
And
yeah.
and it's kind of like I need to reflect on, like, so what's the end game here? Like, what are we actually trying to accomplish here? And it sounds like you're trying to build it up, get an offering on it, and then create, and or create something that is, that can help. Which industry? I guess if you had a choice between industries, which industry would you gravitate to? And you don't have to say roofing because we're in the roofing space over here. I mean, I get it. So what industry would you focus on most?
I mean, that I love my roofers, right? I mean, that will never change. I will forever be grateful for everybody in the community who has listened to my content, bought our services, what talked highly of me, whatever, right? Gave me an opportunity. So they will always be, near the top of my list, no matter what, right? There's some other trades that I have enjoyed. I've enjoyed concrete and demolition and stuff like that, but roofing would definitely be at the top. And when you were talking about kind of like the mission, I kind of thought about that a little bit more too. Like you're saying, I'm in grind mode, but that's kind of how it goes with, with the last company. It was first 2 years, grind, felt like it never stopped. You build out a team. All of a sudden I'm working 8 to 4 every day, right? Back to a normal lifestyle, right? You don't want to be stuck in that entrepreneurial grind forever. But I think, just changing the perception and image of contractors almost being out of date, right? Not being able to communicate, being disorganized, not being reliable. I think, being able to shift that in terms of what the client thinks about when they think about contractors that'd be pretty epic. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. No. And I like this topic because I wanted to ask you, at some point in time, the work-life blend, you talked about the 8 to 4 and when we're solopreneurs or entrepreneurs, it's like, that's not always an option for us. But I think what's cool about what it is that you do is that you're allowing the contractor to buy back some of their time. I'm not trying to sound like Dan Martell in his book, Buy Back Your Time, but literally that's what you're doing for us contractors, is helping us buy back some of our time and save time, because you're lifting that heavy weight off of us so we can focus on the things that we're really good at. And that's networking, building the business, creating relationships, coaching, mentoring our teams, and things like that. And the last thing that we really want to think about or worry about is our finances or accounts payable or receivables and things like that. But to get back to the work-life blend, like, when did you decide? Because I know you've been an entrepreneur and I know you're married. I'm not sure if you have any kids or not, but family for me today, I spend at least 15 minutes in the morning, every morning, with my son Rocket. That's something I chose to do last school year. So I get up early enough. Not that I wasn't, actually, I would leave before he'd get up and go to school, but I started to hang out with Rocket just to spend that 15, 20, 30, sometimes 45 minutes quality time with him in the mornings and stuff like that. And try to blend it and be intentional while I'm there. I don't have my phone in my hand. I'm not checking emails. I'm asking, I'm talking to him about life stuff and how's school going and what are you guys working on now? Because he goes to a vocational school. So that interests me right out of the gate right there. Like, so, ooh, what are you guys learning at school today? What can we use to, what can we apply to our stuff today? But like, when did you realize the work-life blend, right? And or what are your thoughts on that?
I think it's essential for long-term success. There's no doubt about it. But I do think sometimes you have to pay your dues in the beginning, because it's not easy. If it was easy, everybody else would be doing it. When I started my first company, I think I was 24 years old, and I could work in my $800 apartment until 2 a.m, learning graphic design or whatever it might be, right? And I didn't really have any responsibilities. And so I think for me, I was all in. And then once I was able to build out that team, I went back to a normal lifestyle. So I just think that, there's only a timeline that you can grind in the beginning until you run out of gas. So it's essential to kind of have goals of, hey, when am I going to bring people on? Or when can I streamline some stuff where I'm not handling every single thing and wearing every single hat? Because that's the only way to do it, right? It's not possible to live a work-life balance without bringing in good people that can kind of fill some of those voids where you can step out of them, right? And so with this one, it was a little bit different, right? So I sold my ownership in the last companies and I get married, right? So I get engaged, I get married. We got a baby boy on the way. We get a puppy, right? And also now, you're responsible for more people, right? And it changes because you want to make sure that you're present with your family and everything like that too. So for me with this one, honestly, I tried to just shorten that time frame that I had to grind so much. So for that year, I just put in the work, a lot of all-nighters and everything like that. So then that way, you know, when our baby boy does come in January, right, I'm gonna have more time. I can be more present and really enjoy those moments because I don't want to miss out on those things, right? Because there's gonna be some things where you're gonna miss out on, and it's sad. So you don't want to do that for very long.
Yes. No, I agree. I agree. So what would you have to do to prepare yourself and your company for that? Like when do you say to yourself, I guess for you, you knew you had, you know, your baby boy on the way.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was somebody listening here and I've been grinding away for like 3 years, like when do I know it's time for me to start delegating? How do I know who to delegate to? Like, what do I have to do to prepare myself and prepare them and prepare the company when I start to delegate these tasks?
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're at the 3 year point and you're still feeling like that, you probably should kind of analyze those 3 years, right? So if you can look at where you've been, where the issues have been, you know, is it in like what's the issue where you don't have enough cash flow at this point, I guess, to bring some people on, right? I mean, that'd be the first thing I'd be looking at, because chances are you're burning yourself out, you're not your best version of yourself, and that could be a big reason why. But for me, I was always looking at areas, okay, I'm doing this, and this. What am I not good at, or what's taking me too long? And I want to hand off first. And that's the way I always went about delegating, right? Where if I'm really good at something, I'm going to keep focusing on that as a leader. But the other areas where I'm a little bit weaker, I'm going to start filling those as quick as possible. Right. So just like, to be honest, for me, right. So we have a couple of sales guys now, but you know, once we're up a little bit more and I kind of have some benchmarks, everything like that, I'm going to be taking everything that I've learned and I'm going to be training people who are really good at tech to handle those issues. Right. Because I'll tell you one thing, with this technology stuff now, this might be the best I am at anything I've ever done in my life at this point. But I'll tell you one thing, it does not energize me the same way as it does when I'm front facing with clients, networking, right? Telling people our story and our mission. That's where I excel. So I got to get myself back there, even though I got good at that one thing, because I know other people could probably get it better or faster and they get enjoyment out of it. Certain people love it, right? I need to be talking to people. And so that's that's me, right? And so I would suggest a similar approach.
Yeah. Now I like that, you know, not to be afraid to hire smarter people than you in certain areas of the company. Maybe not necessarily smarter, but trusting them enough to do a better job than I did. Because at least for me, when I remember, and I was one of those guys. I came from the hustle culture, right? Like there was no
Mhm.
that we weren't talking about work-life balance or even blend. I call it blend because I tend to still blend my personal life into my professional life. And thank God my family has been a great advocate with me in all this journey. So, but you know, I've become, you know, more wiser the older that I get, that I realized that, you know, I was mediocre at everything that I was doing. I couldn't excel at anything because I was wearing all of the hats in the company. And when that pain was great enough, because that's what I was thinking about when you were talking, it's like how I knew is when the pain was great enough, I finally got off my dead ass to do something about it. Like I need help. Right.
Mhm.
And so I went on a mission to hone the people that, because we had a great team. I just wasn't delegating or training or coaching well enough. But when I got to that point where it was like, okay, the pain's great enough, I was doing 15 tasks that created 12 full-time 50-hour a week jobs. And when I look back at
Mhm.
it now, it's kind of like I wasn't even really good at anything that I was doing anymore. But then when I was given that time back, I don't know if you experienced this or not, but when you started to step away, was there a moment where you were kind of like, okay, what is my job now? Like now that I've given everything away and everybody's doing really well, and some of them even better, way better, 10x than I was when I was at my top. Did you find a moment where it was kind of like, okay, so now what is my job?
You know, actually, I stepped into it pretty well. I felt like I loved it because it felt like once I was able to get everybody in their role, and I found people that were very, very reliable. Basically, my setup was every morning we met on Zoom for 10 minutes, and I would throw up a motivational video, make them watch it, make them give me a key takeaway,
Mhm.
right? And because I just want you know, you have so many negative thoughts, so I just want that to get stuck in their brain, basically. You know, is there's those videos, and we would do 3 goals for the day. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. You know, just 3 things that you really want to get accomplished for the day. And then we would meet at the end of the day, same thing, 10 minutes. And everybody just go around and say, hey, did you hit your goals? Yes or no? There was no judgment, no nothing. But you do start to pick up on that nobody wants to be the person showing up to that last meeting and be like, no, I didn't, hold down my part and my responsibility to get those goals down. So it almost created like a team accountability. And then for me, I felt like this as a business standpoint, I was finally able to kind of get into that role where I just got into like a flow state where I felt like because I didn't have to worry about all those stuff and I knew that they could handle it, that I was just making the right decision every single time. Where maybe before I was only making the right decision 50% of the time or 60% of the time, whatever it might be. It just felt like I was just always making the right decision. I was just sharper almost.
Yeah. You removed all the clutter and the worry of trying to take on everything that you were basically you have expanded your bandwidth to the point where it was clouding your judgment. Cause I've been there from my experience of just making poor decisions because of fatigue or I was tired or I didn't have enough time. So I was just kind of throwing shit on the wall and seeing what would stick. And I can relate to the clarity, how my clarity is much clearer today, but I tend to still get out in the weeds because I bring other things on then, kind of start building out the framework and then pass it on and have them complete it and then check back in to see how it's going. And having said that, have you ever had a moment where or what, let me ask you this way, like, what do you do to stay sharp so you don't become obsolete in your business? Like, is there certain things, or are you just working on stuff all the time that you're not afraid that your business is going to outgrow you or your team will, and you'll become irrelevant?
I think it's all personal. I mean, first off, it comes back to personal, right? How you treat yourself personally, your personal health, mental health, everything like that, you name it, is going to be reflected in the business, right? So if I'm a person who in my personal life always has goals, has a routine, does things like meditation, tries to go to bed at a decent time so I can wake up early and go get it, right? And I'm really dialed in and I'm trying to improve as a person. Chances are now when I step into that leadership role at the company, right, and I'm working with everybody else, right, that's going to be contagious, right? And I'll notice this too, because if I some contractors I work with, they're so stressed out and so overwhelmed that they're not really a pleasure to talk to. And I have I don't even take it personally because I know what they're going through, right? And so, but what happens then is that attitude drips down onto everybody else, right? So now when I go meet with accounts receivable, right, she's giving me attitude, is not very open-minded to anything I have to say, and say, hey, I'll keep working here as long as we don't change what we're doing. And that's the first call I have, right? And so that's because it all trickles down, right? It's not the leadership's fault because they probably were a great leader at one point, but people get burnt out, right? And once you're burnt out, your temper and your attitude isn't going to be as delightful.
Yeah, no. And it's funny you say that because I changed the signature on my email to CEO. And what that means is Chief Energy Officer. Like that's my job. I got that from a John Gordon book, The Energy Bus, and it stuck with me. And I actually read that book. It's just a short book that you can read in probably about 45 minutes, but it's such a good book. And you're right. The energy is contagious, right? Whether it's negative energy, whether it's, positive energy, it's very negative. And I've noticed myself over the years where I've totally changed the tempo in a room, good or bad. That's our job today, is to bring the heat. We're here to, provide the energy, the resources, the time, the money, whatever that is. Like, that's our job today. And I honestly believe exactly what you just said. It starts in here. It starts personally, right? And we talk about this on just about every episode of personal mastery and taking care of yourself, because I have to take care of myself first, because if I'm not eating well, I can't feed well. Right. So I need to take care of myself. And unfortunately, my sleeping the past couple of nights haven't been the greatest. And I'm kind of feeling that today. But fortunately, because of good diet and exercising and things like that, and I've done a lot stupider things for a lot dumber reasons of why I didn't sleep very well in the past. So this is nothing compared to the shit that I put myself through in the past. So I can still perform at a high level because I'm like, if there was a if there was a trifecta of exercise, eating well, dieting, and sleep, as long as I'm hitting at least two of them, right, and not necessarily any certain order, I can perform it at my top peak. But what I try to do today, there are certain, I'm very specific on the trades or the things that I try to learn that would be very beneficial personally, but not only that, but to influence and encourage the team. Like, what am I studying today? What am I listening to today? What am I reading today that's going to impact a company later? And or an individual that comes in here, because one, like, let's talk about finances and stuff. Okay. And different skills require different skill sets, right? Like, like sales. If I've been a salesperson, right, and I've been so fixated on closing the deal, overcoming objections, creating my own leads, or whatever the case might be for that particular salesperson, doesn't necessarily mean I have the skill sets to be a sales manager. One requires a hammer, one requires a screwdriver. Vic and I were just talking about this the other day, right? A sales manager or a sales leader's skill set would be having people skills, having leadership skills, having delegation skills, coaching, mentoring, dealing with people's attitudes, all of totally different set of skill set there. So what I've done, because I've gone through that, I've gone from being on the roof to entrepreneur to accounts payable to receivables to salesperson, and all of it all at one time. And and that's entrepreneurship. That's that first year grind or 3-year grind of trying to master all of these things. But now that I have more time today, I get to be very specific on the content that I'm absorbing, right? Or what I'm studying. And leadership's one of those things that I've been studying for at least, I mean, consistently for the last 9, but probably more heavily on a daily basis for the past 4 or 5 years. And why I wanted to do that was because I wanted to know how to lead people, like, and not just have followers, but create other leaders. Like, there's a different layer there of creating a dream big enough for everyone else's dream to fit in. It's more so creating a legacy that everyone else's legacy can fit in. And it's like, how do I get there? How do I become that person to lead people? I don't have to master QuickBooks like I did 10 years ago. I'm not a CPA. Okay. I throw the towel in. I'm not a CPA. I need to hire someone that knows how to crunch numbers way better than I can, especially at the multiples that we might want to be at someday. Okay. You know what I mean? So why would I want to spend my time recreating a website when I'm not a website design guy? So where I'm more useful and not holding the company back is working on skills of, like, networking, referral, leadership tech, and some technology. I do some research, like, because sometimes we have to implement or integrate certain technologies to help us communicate further away, right? We're kind of expanding our footprint and stuff like that. So, like, I find that being my job today is sharpening mostly my leadership abilities, my leadership skills, in order to inspire other people to want to be leaders themselves within their organizations, and more importantly, and more recently, here within our organization.
Then you got to check out, I'm sure you're a fan, John Maxwell. I think you already mentioned him, right? John Maxwell, he's kind of the OG. He's the king when it comes to that stuff. I don't mind Simon Sinek either, but I was the same way. When I had a team, I did everything possible to absorb as much information about leadership and what it really is, right? And how you can be successful with it. But yeah, I'm all about it, man. I'm all about it. You got to be a good leader. And I would always say this too is, when I was building out the team, when I found really good people where they were problem solvers, they were reliable, and they very rarely hit me up with questions about their task, and I just knew that I could count on them to take it to the finish line most of the time. I would always try to figure out what they wanted out of their career, right? So making sure that they had a roadmap and it was built off what they wanted to do. Honestly, I'd usually overpay. Because if I had some, I would give pretty hefty raises at the end of the year and stuff like that, because I just wanted to keep really good people, right? And I wanted them to make good money too. And then I would try to always do, team bonding stuff. If we hit our goals, go to Cabo or do whatever it might be, or take, go snowmobiling in Breckenridge, anything where I could show that I cared about them and that they could trust me, right? And then I had their back. I was all about, and also try not to take the limelight too much. Obviously, if you're going to be the face of the company, you do get a lot of the spotlight and whatnot.
Mhm.
But internally, whenever anything good does happen, don't be that leader that tries to take all the credit for it, right?
Yeah.
Let everybody have their moment, right? Make them feel valuable and that they're part of something.
Absolutely, man. This is such a great topic because I mean, there's a lot of trial and error and tribulations and all those things, at least that I had to go through over the years. And one of the biggest things was being transparent about my weaknesses and asking our team for help. Okay. Cause that right there in itself can build trust with your team. Okay. The other thing is too, is not to, expose your deficits, right? Like, so I'm not so strong over here, but I'm strong over here, and my team knows that, and they know I'm asking them for help. So I built trust. Plus, I'm empowering them, to help me make these decisions in areas that I might not be so strong in. And taking the blame, learning how to take more blame and give more credit is a skill in itself, because, like you said, you can get caught up in the limelight of things and want to take the credit. Like, yeah, I was the guy that facilitated and organized this team and put this team together. We wouldn't be who we are today if it wasn't for the team. I was just a guy that kind of sold people on a dream but also had to cash that check that my ass wrote once they came here. And that's with a decent salary, creating a culture of fellowship and camaraderie, doing outside activities, whether it's going to RoofCon, whether it's we had a grand opening down south, and there was a handful of us that went down there together to celebrate with the team down south. But we also did a team building skill at the house that we rented. We specifically rented an Airbnb where we all had to stay under the same roof, and then we did a team building skill. And they had no idea what to expect with this team building skill, but it was so cool because everybody was getting vulnerable, and it was really nice to see that everybody in that room trusted everybody enough to shed a tear or get super vulnerable or share something that may have been under other circumstances very uncomfortable, but they felt comfortable enough in that room to share those experiences with this team building thing. And that's where I nerd out on that stuff. Like, how can we bring the team together? What outside, community activities can we do to help the community within where we live and things like that. And I think when you start to create trust, accountability with KPIs, and a lot of people don't like the word accountability. Okay. They think it's a negative. Accountability means success for the individual, success for the company, and then success enough to bring other people into our organizations because we've been so successful to provide an opportunity for other people to have a good career, not just a job or a stepping stone, but this is a career that we're trying to build here for people in a future, right? With a good paying salary that impacts the community within that we live within. And that's been one of I'll be honest with you, when I set out on this mission very early on, that was probably one of the biggest things was to give away what had been so freely given to me. And that was the trade, right? The roofing industry found me, and it could have been selling tires. It could have been the tire industry. It just happened to be, the roofing industry. And it has become this vehicle for us to impact so many hundreds. And I can't even imagine, maybe even thousands. I'm not saying that I'm imagining, I'm guessing, kind of like we were talking about earlier, like you had no idea the impact that you had on us early on. Okay. Almost.
Oh, I guarantee you have. And you just have no idea. I guarantee there's people out there, man, who have never even reached out to you, who is very appreciative of the information that you put out there. Because I'd go to a conference and I never talk to somebody. They go, "Hey, we are live," and they'd say, "Hey, I've been listening to you in the truck every blah blah blah." And I had no idea. Right. And so you got to keep doing what you're doing because you're definitely impacting all those people. Yeah.
And I love that. And that's the silver bullet. If you want to be successful, that is how we measure success, on how many lives that we impact on a daily, yearly, quarterly, in our lifetime. Right. That's the true flex. The flex is obviously impacting our family, right? Immediate family, but the amount of people that we can impact on a daily basis um, that's just kind of where I live in my passion today. And that's kind of what wakes me up. Obviously my wife and my kids and our animals and stuff is why, I might get up immediately in the morning, but like my second thought is like, okay, what are we going to do at work to improve the quality of the working conditions, right? That we're in right now. What are we going to do to improve the quality of the business this time next year? What skill sets does my team need to have that we need to work on over the next 3 to 6 to 12 months so we can get where we need to go? Are we missing spots on the bus that need to be filled? Do we need to get people in here? And it's kind of cool getting back to, the original conversation here is to be at a place in your career where you can work on the business and not so much in the business, and also give that sense to other people that you work with on a daily basis. Cause I'm sitting here looking at Vic, and I feel like, and I know this, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to speak for Vic, is that I feel like Vic is fulfilling a dream that maybe he didn't know he had for a second, but now he's discovered like this pathway to like, now he is like a content making freaking machine and
Let's
living
go, baby.
living the best life ever. And I look around the room and I'm sitting here, I'm scanning the building right now. And it's kind of like, dude, victory. You know what I mean? Yeah, let's go. Like victory, like it's giving me goosebumps right now. And then the lives that we're impacting outside of this building, whether it's putting a roof on or it's a charitable event that we're hosting, like that's what this is all about. So with your technology that you're bringing to the industries for contractors to buy back their life, right? To figure out that work-life balance that I don't know if it even exists, at least in my world, at least not in this season of my world, right?
It's all about seasons. It's all about seasons.
Yeah, but I love what I do. So I guess I don't ever work a day in my life. And that's what it's about. And that's the environment that we're trying to create for everybody, right? It is called work. That's why it's called fishing, right? It's not called catching. Like we gotta fish. We're working here. But for the most part, man, I love what we do. I love what you guys are doing over there at
Appreciate it.
BetterBoss, man. Like it's cool to see, you progressing in your career and the season that you're in right now and the impact that you're having, I know, on our industry and stuff, and that you're still out there grinding away. Before we get, let's talk about this 22 kill. What is it? It's the first I've
Have you been
heard.
nominated yet?
No, damn it.
Looks like I got mine for tomorrow. Well, so my boy David Carroll, he nominated me.
Okay.
And so it's 22 push-ups for 22 straight days. And it is to create awareness for 22 veterans commit suicide every single day, which is pretty insane to think about. So we're raising awareness. My dad was in the Air Force, got to represent. And so we're just raising awareness. And I'm on day 14. So for day 15, Ty, just be ready. Okay. Be ready.
Okay. Oh, well,
be ready. It's coming your way, baby.
So what it's 22 push-ups to bring awareness to suicide for those that are in the service, because there's 22 a day that commit suicide.
22 every single day. 22 veterans every single day.
22 veterans a day commit suicide.
Yeah.
Oh my God, isn't
that insane?
Horrible. No, yes, it is. I can't believe that. I had no idea whether they were serving or are serving. 22 veterans. Oh my, 22 I never knew that statistic. So thank you. I'm glad I asked you that question. And I'm up for the challenge, bro. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna do 44 a day.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna double it down.
Yeah. I'm gonna do
40, that. I'm holding you to that.
44 a day for 22 days. For 22 days.
You be careful what you wish for, because I'll tell you this: I've had a lot of people that have nominated drop off due to soreness. So you better watch out.
No. So do I need to post it live or the video of it, or
so basically, you post a video, right? Because that's how we're gonna get the awareness. You hashtag 22 kill, and then every single day you nominate somebody new.
Okay. All right. So after I start, because I'm gonna start today, I'm not nominating Vic.
Yeah, I literally was just about to say that, but you beat me too. I was like, dude, you got to get him nominated now.
Yeah, I will. No, cool deal. All right, so we're almost out of time here. Before we get off here, let's use one of your lines. Well, how would you and Randy finish out? Like, leave us with a nugget.
A golden nugget, words of wisdom, right?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll say, live with a growth mindset. You know, everything that you do, think
Mhm.
about solutions. Think about how you can get better. Think about how you can improve. Don't focus too much on the problem or the challenges that you're focused on, right? Be a goal oriented individual that is always getting better, right? With a positive mindset and outlook, especially if you're a leader, because what that's going to do is that's going to go down to every single buddy involved. Now you're going to create a culture of that. And when you have a culture of that, that is an unstoppable force. Try to beat a team full of growth mindset, solution oriented individuals. It can't be done. It can't be done. So focus on yourself, focus on those core values, and you'll make it happen.
Right on. I love that. Create, if you don't have any personal core values, make some non-negotiables, stick by them,
Mhm.
live by them. They don't have to align with your professional core values. They can differ. No, I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff. And before we get off here, I know my granddaughter's watching, and last week she watched and I didn't mention her name. So big shout out to my granddaughter, Skylar, that's out there. I love you very much. And I want to see
What's
a
up,
bunch of hearts.
Skylar?
Yeah, there you go. Thank you
How
so
old
much.
Skylar?
She's 3 years old. She's 3'10"
Oh,
and she's 3 years old.
Skylar, you're already a superstar. Looks like we have a future for you in broadcasting.
Yes, we do. Thank you for that, Nick. Thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in every single Wednesday night. Thank you for being a trailblazer, Nick. Thank you for
Let's
coming
go.
on the show. Until then, let's stay in touch, man. I want to hear more about on what you guys are doing over there, maybe how you can help complement what it is that we're doing over here and all that good stuff, man. But thank you for what you do for the industry.
Yeah.
If
You too, man. Keep crushing it, bro. Keep
We're gonna-
crushing it. Thanks for taking that baton of Facebook Live, man, and taking it way further. So we appreciate you too.
Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. If you haven't liked, loved, shared, get on YouTube, get on Spotify, Facebook, obviously, Google Play, and Apple Podcast. Get on there, like, love, share that to everybody out there. Till then, we'll see you guys next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you so much.